How we doing? This is That's My Take. Welcome, where we strive to educate, entertain, interact, and hopefully add a little value to your day. I'm your host, Nug the Narrator. Let's get right into it. World news. The world just marked a year above a critical climate limit scientists have warned about. Global warming surpassed 1.5 degrees Celsius over the past 12 months for the first time on record. New data shows breaching a critical threshold that, if it continues, will push the limits of life on Earth to adapt. The past year was 1.552 degrees hotter on average than temperatures before industrialization, according to data from Copernicus, the European Union's climate and weather monitoring service. That 12-month average was boosted by the hottest January on record, which was 1.66 degrees warmer than the average January temperature in pre industrial times. Keeping global warming below 2 degrees, but preferably 1.5, was the centerpiece goal of the Paris Agreement, which most of the world's nations signed on to in 2015. Scientists are more concerned with multi-year warming above these thresholds, but the 12-month record shows the world is fast approaching the Paris Agreement's limits. Matt Patterson, a postdoctoral research assistant in atmospheric physics at the University of Oxford, said the record was a significant milestone, but didn't mean the Paris Agreement had failed. Heat records on land and sea have tumbled over the past year. The last 8 months in a row have been the hottest such months on record, while 2023 was the hottest calendar year. Now, there we go. Let me get into frame here. Pretty good. Basically, if you paid attention to the wordy opening segment of the world news, you will hear that on average, temperatures on Earth are getting hotter. That typically means a lot of different things may happen. Ice shifts, breakage of ice bodies or bergs, um, all type of climatal changes can happen when your weather is different. So you may have crops that depend on such levels, and when that messes up, that may deplete certain crops or make certain other industries prices increase. Let's take crawfish, for example. Me, I'm being born and raised in Louisiana. I keep my eye on things like crawfish, and I've noticed that a lot of people talking about how crawfish now are like $13 a pound, $10 a pound. Um, when they typically are considered high at like 6 or 7 a pound. I can remember when there was $1 or 2 a pound, but again, that was what, I'm 45, so shit, 30 years ago, 40 years, well, yeah, 30 years ago or so. But anyway, I really have a strong opinion on global warming. And that opinion is this: corporate America is destroying our climate. Yes, that's my opinion on global warming. I don't believe one human being that overexerts a stove is going to make the world hotter. But as these corporations continue to manufacture and build and produce things for us as consumers to buy, that's churning out a lot of energy that I think, in respect, will make temperatures rise, as well as all this smoke and pollution that's going as the byproduct of a lot of these different products being made. So I fought corporate America. Um, Again, climate change is a big thing, and I do believe in global warming. I know some people don't. If you don't know what that is, global warming is the idea that as man constantly does what it do in terms of industrializations and manufacturing, they're causing temperatures to go up on average, which can result in a lot of different things, because we all know there's a cause and there's an effect. So again, definitely monitoring that. And I think that's something that's kind of important if, you kind of care about, stuff like, I don't know, climate and not being so hot that you can't go outside. That's not saying it might happen in our lifetime, but things like that could be where we're headed. Moving on. And again, I'm trying different angles, so you got to kind of bear with me. And I thank you for bearing with me, but at the same time, I kind of like this angle because I feel, more comfortable in my conversation at this here particular angle. But again, we just trying things, man. We growing as we grow. All right, bones found in 8-meter deep pit may fundamentally change history of humans in Europe. Microscopic fragments of protein and DNA recovered from bones discovered in 8-meter deep cave dirt have revealed Neanderthals and humans likely lived alongside one another in northern Europe as far back as 45,000 years ago. The genetic analysis of these fossils, which were found in a cave near the town of Ranners in East Germany, suggested that modern humans were the makers of distinctive leaf-shaped stone tools that archaeologists once believed were crafted by Neanderthals, the heavily built humanoids who lived in Europe until about 40,000 years ago. Modern humans or Homo sapiens were previously known to have lived as far north as the region where the tools were made. And I quote, the Rainers Cave site provides evidence for the first disposal of Homo sapiens across the higher latitudes of Europe. It turns out that stone artifacts that were thought to be produced by Neanderthals were in fact part of the early Homo sapiens toolkit, said research author Jean-Jacques Hoblin, a professor of the College of France in Paris. And I quote, this fundamentally changes our previous knowledge about the period. Homo sapiens reached northwestern Europe long before Neanderthal disappearance in southwestern Europe. The discoveries means the two groups, which once inbred and left most humans alive today with traces of Neanderthal DNA, may have overlapped for several thousand years. It also shows that Homo sapiens, our species, crossed the Alps into the cold of northern and central Europe earlier than thought. Now, real quick take on this subject. I don't know how easy it is to date prehistoric times. So, I mean, obviously for 45,000 years versus 40,000 years, that's 5,000 years of possible overlapping what they're saying with the Neanderthals, which are not us species today. We are Homo sapiens, and there's DNA splittage and a whole way to determine this Neanderthal DNA, which some people still carry today, which to me shows and reflects that there possibly in most cases was an overlap of both species. Pretty much other than that, I take science for what it is. I do believe that people do study and find stuff that dates back, but in terms of them putting a date on something, and I know carbon dating is a huge thing as well to actually pinpoint dates and stuff like that. I'm still kind of out with the exact time of stuff when it comes down to history. That's all I'm saying. Again, I have a history degree and I love history, but at the same time, me with some of the prehistoric dates kind of have me questioning. And this is something that actually answers that question in a way, because for so long they've been saying Neanderthals or the species pre-Homo sapiens were around before we came. So now they're saying it's not only a possibility, it's almost a fact that they both was overlapping for a few years or centuries. And again, I'm not, a scientist. I don't profess to be. I read and research articles that interest me and hopefully interest you as well. Moving on. Where was most of America's stuff imported from last year? Hint, it wasn't China. For the past 2 decades, the United States imported more goods from China than all other nations. That's no longer the case. Mexico is now the top exporter of goods into the U.S., according to new trade data released by the Commerce Department on Wednesday. Mexico sent 475 billion dollars worth of goods into the U.S. last year, a 5% increase from 2022. China, meanwhile, exported $427 billion worth of goods to the U.S. last year, a 20% slump from 2022. As a whole, the total U.S. trade deficit in goods and services, a measure of the differences between exports and imports, was $773 billion last year, a 19% decrease from 2022 or the previous year. That's the largest annual decline in the trade deficit since 2009. Contributing to the overall trend was a weaker dollar that made the cost of U.S. goods cheaper abroad. Matthew Martin, U.S. economist at Oxford Economics, said in a note Wednesday. An economics and senior fellow at the Council of Foreign Relations suggested in a post on X that tariffs the Trump administration put in place has negatively impacted the amount of goods the U.S. imports from China. At the same time, Americans have been dealing back on purchases of goods such as, let me run that back. Americans have been dialing back on purchases of goods such as electronics that are widely produced in China since supply chain bottlenecks cleared up after the pandemic took hold. In turn, more spending has shifted to services like travel and entertainment. Those two industries right there are seeing a boom. A lot of people are traveling. A lot of people are entertaining themselves with their dollar in terms of concerts and festivals and shit. What else they got? Travel destinations, tourist attractions. More money is going into that than gaming or TVs or electronics. So Mexico again has overtaken China as the number one exporter of goods to America. It kind of makes sense. When Trump was in office, he definitely was at the Chinese heavy. Obviously, you're going to have a backlash with that. These last 4 years saw Biden, I guess, I don't want to say smoothing it out, but Biden having better relations with China. So we may see a shift, but I think overall, most Americans who buy stuff out of the country are looking for the best price. And I believe the best price will always win, not the best quality of product. There's a 1,001 factories in China, just like there's 1,001 factories in Mexico. But they're producing the same thing and people want it cheaper, they're going to go with the cheaper person or place. I don't know. Some things come to mind about that is, will our relationship with China digress to a point where they start kind of asking for the money we owe, because we are in debt to China. If you don't know, I'm letting you know right now, your country is in debt to China. I don't know when they're going to call on these debts. I don't know how we plan on paying these debts, but we are indebted to China. So I think that's going to also help with future imports and exports with the country. But if, and again, I don't talk much politics on my show, and I do that for a reason, but if the Republicans gain office, we may see the exact reversal as China declines in terms of exports and imports to America. Again, I'm just hoping they don't call on us to pay these bills that we owe them because we are in debt to China. Up next is world news. Take a quick sip of it's just Kool-Aid. Some shows I do be liberated off alcohol. Tonight I am not. Mostly that's weekends. Because I mean, I'm a weekend warrior. I drink on the weekends. I don't drink much during the week unless it's a social function or whatever. But well, I take that back. When I play poker, I do drink. So I guess I do drink during the week when I'm playing poker. But other than that, it's merely weekends when I sip. Sip of choice right now, besides Jameson, is tequila. I've been downing some shots of tequila here lately, and hey, waking up not feeling horrible. So hey, that's where we at. But yeah, moving on. U.S. news. And I do apologize for the people that say, well, we don't see your head much, or your head ducking, or you duck down. I'm trying not to duck down, but at the same time, my prompter is to my left, and obviously the camera is right up on me, and we're playing with different angles to just see which works best. And again, I welcome any and all suggestions. They're always appreciated. U.S. news. Let me see. Let me make sure I get in the frame while I'm reading it. 70 current and former employees at nation's largest public housing authority charged in historic federal bribery bust. Wow. Federal prosecutors in New York have accused 70 current and former employees of the nation's largest public housing authority of bribery and extortion for allegedly pocketing more than $2 million in cash payments for non-bid repair contracts. And what Damian Williams, that guy has a good name and is actually spelt a good way. In what Damian Williams, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York, called, and I quote, the largest single-day bribery takedown in the history of the Justice Department, end quote. The scheme involved nearly a third of New York City's 335 public housing developments, home to 1 in 17 New Yorkers. The defendants arrested in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and North Carolina, and I quote, allegedly used their jobs at NYCHA to line their own pockets, end quote, on no bid repair contracts under $10,000. Williams said in a statement Tuesday, the defendants allegedly demanded about 10% to 20% of the contract value, or between $500 and $2,000, depending on the size of the contract. Prosecutors said some defendants demanded even higher amounts. They awarded more than $13 million in faster and smaller no-bid contracts awarded from designated staff at the developments where the work was being performed. Now, obviously, or maybe not so obviously, humans' greed usually wins out if they're already a seed of greed planted. Let me try to say that one more time. A person's greed usually will show its head if there's a seed of greed planted. Now, what I mean by that is people that work in positions where they have money dealings. And if y'all paid attention, it was 70 people that got the charge allegedly bribing. So there's not like one or two people doing the bribery. And this is, like they say, a third of the staffers. And it crossed different state lines as well. Now, I know a little bit about bribery and extortion, but I'm not no expert in the field. But it seems like if you wanted a contract done and it was a no bid contract, you kind of had to pay this if you wanted to get that. And I guess they little scheme, somebody caught on to it, and it was $2 million later. So yes, I really don't know what to say. Corruption lies wherever there's corruption. You know, absolute power, absolutely powers everything or whatever. I forgot how power, absolute power, absolutely something power. I don't remember the exact phrase, but yes, when you're in a position of monetary gaining off somebody having to pay for a service or would pay for a service, because this was no big contract, but still it's payola. In the radio business, there's something called payola. You want your song played, you usually got to slide the DJ something. This is federally illegal, but this happens all the time. All the time. So yes, these people here obviously are wrong. Um, they awarded more than 13 million in faster and smaller, no big contracts. Listen, again, if you got a C degree planet, your greed's gonna win out. And I mean, hey, this was just one of them tales of greed, in my opinion. That's my take. Moving on. Let me see here. What we got? Parents seek justice for baby who was decapitated during delivery at a Georgia hospital. A Georgia couple is seeking justice for the death last year of their baby during delivery at a Georgia hospital. The baby died from a broken neck and his head was detached, according to the Clayton County, Georgia Medical Examiner's Office, which determined the manner of death a homicide. That means the death was caused by another person, but it does not imply criminal activity. It's up to local authorities to determine whether criminal charges should be filed in this case. The parents, Jessica Ross and Travion Isaiah Taylor Sr., said that the doctor applied excessive traction to the baby's head and neck during the delivery last July, and that the hospital tried to cover up the details of the death in the aftermath, including the fact that the baby was decapitated, according to a lawsuit filed in August. It was the funeral home that informed the parents about the decapitation, a discovery that the mom's general manager called very disturbing. I just want justice for my baby, the 21-year-old mama said Wednesday. I'm hurt. I'm hurt bad. She, Dr. Tracy St. Julian, hurt me. She hurt my baby. She didn't show no remorse, end quote. Ross urged the nurses who was present during her delivery to come forward and give their account of what happened. And I quote, "We just want justice for our son. They lied to us," Tyler said Wednesday. When asked what justice for their son would look like, Taylor said he wants the hospital shut down. Ross and Taylor's lawsuit alleges the Southern Regional Medical Center attempted to conceal the manner of death of the baby from her and her family, which the hospital has denied. When asked Wednesday whether she believes criminal charges are deserved in this case, Ross said yes. Again, I typically find stories that catch my attention, and this definitely caught my attention. Sad, very tragic story about a baby delivered in what seems to be a bad state and a decapitated state. And I'm again, I didn't even watch the birth of my own son. It was a C-section, and I was on the other side of the curtain. And after he got out the stomach, I heard like a little dinosaur. It wasn't really a cry; it just sounded like a dinosaur noise. That's all I remember, like a baby dinosaur. He was making these little noises, and they put him in my hand, and it was just a little sheet or whatever. And I'm just looking at him, and I'm like, this motherfucker sound crazy. That's the sound that he was making. But yeah, from there they placed him in the little incubator thing and cut his umbilical cord off. And I mean, I didn't see his birth, so I can't really say. And this obviously was a vaginal birth, from what I'm guessing, but I've not seen such a thing, nor do I want to see such a thing being born like that, because that freaked me out. Just them reaching him to me as soon as he got out the stomach. Like, I mean, I don't know. But back to this story, I'm definitely saddened by this, and I think the hospital is liable. I mean, unless there was x-rays previously showing the baby was already decapitated. How did that happen? Like, that don't happen in birth. Like, I mean, come on now. Like, yes, and my take is the hospital is definitely liable. Now, will a hospital, medical center, whatever, be shut down? Stuff like that, I doubt. They're very powerful lawyers, but at very powerful insurance companies for malpractice. But with that being said, they need to compensate these people and compensate these people nicely for this tragedy. In my like honest take is, how could that happen? A and B, what they said the hospital has denied. The funeral home had to tell you about the decapitation. Y'all obviously hiding something. And again, it's a sad story. My condolences go out to that baby, because there was a soul in a future taken away that day as they delivered the baby in, I'm guessing, very rough ways, because that's all I could think about. How else could a head be decapitated off a body, even if it's a newborn? It's just sad, man. My last U.S. story. LA County captured enough rainfall this week to provide water to 65,000 residents for a year. While the week's atmospheric river drenched Southern California with record breaking rainfall, some water managers were busy capturing some of that runoff to save for dry days ahead. Others were busy fending off an environmental disaster. Los Angeles County Public Works captured 2.7 billion gallons of stormwater as the rain fell in sheets. Public Information Officer Liz Velquez told CNN in an email, enough water for 65,000 residents for a year. In all, stormwater captured facilities across Southern California snagged around 4.9 billion gallons for recharge into groundwater since Sunday night. Wow, that's a lot of water. One of these agencies is the Los Vergines Municipal Water District, whose treatment plant was slammed by nearly 10 inches of rain at a rate that had officials scrambling for a workaround to prevent raw sewage from being discharged into Santa Monica Bay at Surf Rider Beach. At the peak of the storm, the plant was taking in 38 million gallons of water a day. A typical day intake is more like 7.5 million gallons, but it was built to treat more than that, around 12 million gallons a day, said Mike McNutt, an LVMWD spokesperson. What fell earlier this week was a huge and rapid increase in water intake, he said, which majority strained the facility of the plant and could have resulted in an environmental disaster. As the water rose, staff played a bit of a shell game with its resources, sending some of the water to a balancing pond that typically used later in the treatment process, and then pumped it back to the beginning of the plant for treatment. Malibu Creek, where LVMWD discharges most of its recycled water, is highly protected by the EPA, McNutt said, and the staff truly averted an environmental disaster where raw sewage could have been sent downstream. Wow. If you don't know, California has been experiencing record amounts of rain, but a lot of the states over there on that side catch a lot of rainwater to reuse. And just like the article said, they basically caught enough to supply 65,000 people for a year of water. I mean, that's awesome. It gets dry in California when it's the dry season, and they catch water to reuse. I think they do it in Colorado, Arizona, Nevada. And a lot of those states in that area do that, just like I say, for that purpose of saving for when it's dry, or rediverting water to places where they don't have much water. Obviously, to avert raw sewage into the main water stream was very vital, and I'm glad that they did that because that would have been shitty, pun intended, if shit water and sewage got into that other water and mixed. That would have been very, very awful. Luckily, it didn't happen. Up next, hip hop and entertainment news. Monique calls out the Breakfast Club. Charlemagne the God responds, and also as an update, Charlemagne the God from the Breakfast Club actually offered Monique a real apology that she accepted and she really appreciated. Monique sat down on the Club Shay Shay, and again, I love Shannon Sharp, but that Shay Shay shit, I don't know. I'm being my journalistic self, but I'm a grown man saying Shay Shay about another man. Shit just eerily wild to me. But again, I digress, and I'm gonna be as professional as I can. Monique sat down on the Club Shay Shay couch to talk about her entertainment career and other topics. At one point, the Oscar winning actress had a few words for the Breakfast Club. The tension between Monique and the Breakfast Club played out during a contentious 2018 interview on the Power 105.1 radio program. Earlier that year, Charlemagne the God gave the comedian the donkey of the day for promoting a boycott of Netflix over racial and gender bias. And I quote, people were having call-ins when I said, excuse me, this is not right. I was donkey of the day. Remember that? Monique asked Shannon Sharp on the Club Shay Shay podcast. Mo also said, the breakfast nubs called me the donkey of the day. That's what they said. And they had a whole call-in about how I was the donkey of the day. But you didn't do the same thing when you found out we settled. Netflix and Monique agreed to a settlement after she sued the streaming platform for discrimination. The two sides resolved their issues, and then Netflix announced a comedy special starring the Maryland native. We gave Monique big love when the Netflix special happened, Charlemagne the God stated on the latest edition of The Breakfast Club. He also added, and I said, you know what? That's why I need to mind my damn business when it comes to other people's business. And he also gave himself Donkey of the Day today as well. In June 2022, then co-host Angela Lee covered Monique's finalized legal agreement with Netflix on The Breakfast Club. Charlemagne the God asked about the details of the settlement, but he did not further comment on the situation during the particular rumor report. But again, today, he gave himself Donkey of the Day along with the apology to Monique, which I thought was cool. I'm not the biggest Charlemagne the God fan, but at the same time, if you do something right and it's right, hey, I'm cool with that. And again, I feel like that was right. I feel like Monique, I'm gonna tell y'all something. Like Monique remind me of like an auntie or even like my mama. She just got a lot of qualities that I see in a lot of people that I've known growing up. And I'm not just saying this just to be saying this, but that's just how I feel about her in terms of how she come across to me. She come across as genuine. When a lot of people was giving her backlash, I didn't understand it. I think she is very funny. I'm trying to think of who I think might be funnier than her as a female who I like. Female comedy. I mean, Shamor maybe, but I'm not on her like that. But she funny, but I remember watching the Parkers and I remember the Monique show and Precious, obviously, where she won an Oscar. The lady is very talented. Again, she reminds me of a family member. Like I know the lady is not kin to me, but I see a lot of her and a lot of women that I've dealt with in terms of my family over my life, just being honest. I think she had a great show. I did watch it in its entirety. I did it because I knew I was going to speak on it because it's one of those trending topics. And I don't feel like it's messy. I feel like it's a nice trending topic. I don't try to do a lot of the mess and gossip, but again, this lady's career was affected by power hitters in Hollywood doing weird shit and fucking. And I ain't trying to cuss, but it pissed me off after listening to what she was saying, like shit Oprah was doing, shit Tyler Perry did, shit Kevin Hart did, shit y'all Reverend L. Sharpton did. And I say y'all because dude will never be my reverend. Like, I ain't got time for all these games and you acting like you're a leader, but you really not. Like, I ain't got time for all that bullshit. I just feel like, I feel like again, Shannon Sharp had a great podcast. I feel like again, he is top notch with whatever it is he do with that podcast, along with Nightcap. I'm a big fan of both, and I look to him to get inspiration in terms of this podcast thing because obviously I would like my podcast to grow substantially, and I do feel like it will, but it will take time. So with that being said, I'm here for the marathon. I'm here for it. Moving on. Jeezy announced Tiny Desk performance. Jeezy will be the next hip hop act to show up on NPR's Music's Tiny Desk concert series. The I Might Forgive, But I Don't Forget album creator recorded a set for the show on Wednesday, February 7th. Jeezy announced his Tiny Desk appearance with a social media post. That tweet by the Atlanta-bred recording artist collected more than 4,000 likes. Let me take y'all on a journey, he quoted. Hashtag Tiny Desk. The CTE label founder wrote on X. He included several still photos of his performance from the Washington, D.C. based location. 2023 saw several rap stars perform on Tiny Desk concerts. Ab Soul, Trina, Juvenile, Action Bronson, and Scarface hit the stage for NPR music throughout the year. R&B legend Usher took part in one of the most viral Tiny Desk of all times in 2022. Jeezy entered into the Tiny Desk space after dropping I Might Forgive, But I Don't Forget in November 2023. The 29-track featureless double LP had production from Ricky Polo, Justice League, ATL Jacob, Hendrix, Cube Beats, and more. Previously, Jeezy released the Billboard 200 chart-topping albums, The Inspiration in 06, The Recession in 08, and Trap or Die in 16. His discography contains hit singles such as Soul Survivor featuring Akon, Go Crazy featuring Jay-Z, Put On featuring Kanye West, and Love in the Club with Usher, amongst shit lot more. When I say I'm a Jeezy fan, I'm a Jeezy fan. I look forward to this Tiny Desk. I will be watching. I don't know. I think you got people who, when Jeezy came out, was either with Jeezy or with Gucci or went to Gucci. So that split a lot of his fan base, but his worldwide appeal and national appeal still was there, and he blew up and he made historical albums. Look, in Montgomery, there was Trap or Die Sundays. This was at a club that was just the name of it. Trap or Die Sundays. When I tell you this was a place to be, this was where you wanted to be. Trap or Die Sundays. I'm gonna just keep it real. I look forward to his Tiny Desk. I think that's some grown man shit, live band shit. And when you can do your same song that you got beats to live and make them come alive, you are truly an artist. And I just look to Scarface and I look to Juvie. True artists. Put live music with your lyrics in your performance, and you make a historical night of it. I can't wait. Moving on. Jay-Z called out by MIA in explosive Twitter rant. And I quote, "I'm not allowed to see my child," end quote. Jay-Z and Roc Nation have been called out by MIA in an explosive rant in which she claimed she is not allowed to see her child. The British rapper went on a lengthy social media tirade on Thursday, February 8th, making reference to Joe Biden, Julia Assange, and the war in Palestine. The Paper Plane Star initially wrote, "Biden won't let me see my child. The longest processing is meant to be 2 months, and it's already been that," end quote, and shared a screenshot of an email claiming she is ineligible for a U.S. visa. She added, "They're basically saying I have to wait for a Republican to come to office because 9 months from now is the election," end quote. MIA then claimed that her 14-year-old son is currently staying with people convicted of sex trafficking. "I'm not allowed to see my child for stealing food at 18 when I was poor, yet your government is okay with my child being with family convicted for child trafficking and S cults okay. The difference between me and migrants coming in is that I can't vote. I'm paying U.S. taxes too. Sick," end quote. I often wonder what happened with MIA because, I mean, at one time she was everywhere. And I know it might appear like she was a one-hit wonder, but I remember when she was pregnant, still doing shows and big shows, and then she just disappeared. I don't know about none of these claims that she's claiming, but somebody blackballed her. That's 100% true. This lady, rapper, singer, voice, style was original. It was hot. And I mean, I knew something had to been going down behind the scenes. And again, I'm saddened by that because a lot of artists in the industry get blackballed for a lot of reasons. And I had a feeling it was something else going on. And now I'm kind of putting two and two together. And I just hope it all work out for her and she get to see her child. And again, that's crazy. Like you can make all this money in America at one time, but then right down the road, you can't even come back to America with a visa. I just think it's all some bull. Just me keeping it real. Up next, sports news. I also want to ask y'all to subscribe, like, share, comment, interact. My email is listed in the description. If I can be of any assistance or if anybody ever want to hop on my show, the door is always open. All I got to do is hit a button and boom, you're on screen with me and we doing whatever we doing. We talking about the subjects, we conversing, we interacting, but long as we on topic for the day, which again, I got like 4 different segments you could choose from. Long as it's something that I done spoke about that day, let's get on here. Let's talk about it. We could debate about it. Um, I love doing this. I see myself doing this for a very long time. And again, you will see slight changes as I become more versed in what I do. I'm learning right now about adding the in screen picture, but again, I'm more ambionic. I don't want to be high tech with this. I wanted to be a laid back, informal, educational show. So I don't know how much of the in screen thing I'm gonna do. I mean, it's not hard for you if you're paying attention or if you're rewinding to see what I'm talking about and go Google it if you want to actually do any extra, you know what I'm saying, research on it. It's not, I'm not that show. I know some people do shows where they voice over and then show visuals. Nah, this is me coming at you with my takes, and hopefully one day you giving me your takes on these segments and topics. That's all. Sports news. Kobe Bryant immortalized with Lakers statue in downtown Los Angeles. The Lakers unveiled the statue outside of Crypto.com Arena alongside Bryant's widow, Vanessa Bryant. The date of the unveiling, 2/8/24, incorporates the number 8 and the number 24 jerseys Bryant wore with the Lakers and the number 2 that his daughter, I got to get this right. Gianna, I think that's right. Gianna wore on her youth basketball team. The design and pose of the statue wasn't revealed until Thursday. It features Brian standing in a victorious pose with his right hand held in the air from his 81-point game against the Toronto Raptors in 2006. Vanessa introduced the statue with a quote from Kobe: "Leave the game better than what you found it. And when it comes time for you to leave a legend." End quote. And that he did. She added a note about the pose. For the record, Kobe picked the pose you're about to see. If anyone has any issues with it, tough shit. I love it. I love it. She also revealed there will be 2 more statues. One revealed Thursday wearing the number 8. Another will feature Brian wearing the number 24. The third will feature Brian standing alongside his daughter, who died with Brian and 7 others in a 2020 helicopter crash in Southern California. Those statues were not revealed at the ceremony. The Lakers clarified after the ceremony that the dates for unveiling the other 2 statues have yet to be determined. Vanessa consulted on the design of the statue, which includes details such as tattoos of her daughter's name on Kobe's arm. It also featured a triangle-shaped base in tribute to the framed triangle offense that Kobe played in, developed by Tex Winter and implemented by head coach Phil Jackson. That base includes inscriptions documenting some of Kobe's career achievements. That's awesome. Like, I'm a huge Kobe fan. It should go without saying. I am ecstatic about the statue. I did see the statue online, different angles. I love it. I think it's Kobe. Hey, I love Kobe. So the day he passed, that kind of hurt. I know I'm not close to Kobe. I'm just a fan, but that hurt. Like, I mean, and for him to be taken so young, like, it was sad. And obviously he deserves a statue, and shit, he deserved 3. Shit, he's that good. He deserved 3 statues. He's that good. Like, I agree. Yes, bright lights do make you sweat. I'm a human being. Homo sapien. But no, I can't wait to see the other 2 statues. I feel like that's just what they said. That's being immortalized. That statue is going to be there forever, unless some world bomb or missile hit America and LA type shit. But other than that, that statue is going to be there forever. That's doing it. That's iconic. That's Kobe. Like, I don't know. I think MJ is my favorite basketball player only because he came before Kobe. But I love Kobe so much, and people like, well, Kobe just a carbon copy of MJ. Kobe was obviously, his game was centered around Jordan, obviously, but it went to much higher heights. Like, Kobe is the epitome of a champion. Straight up. Now, some people say he got them with Shaq, Well, he got some without Shaq, too. Now what? And then other people will talk about his off the field stuff. I don't deal with all that. I'm talking about as a basketball player. Michael Jordan would be my favorite basketball player, followed by Kobe Bryant. That's just the truth. Now, my favorite athlete, Deion Sanders. That's the truth. But those 3 right there, for me, is greatness. Everybody have their picks and chooses. Those are mine. But yes, that's an awesome story. Rest in peace, Kobe. Definitely. and your daughter and the other 5 people that perished that day in that helicopter. Seriously, like that was tragic. Very much so. It was like the beginning of COVID. I remember it was like the beginning of COVID, and then COVID died. Damn. Shit. Super Bowl 2024. The schedule, odds, news, San Francisco 49ers, Kansas City Chiefs set for the Super Bowl battle in Las Vegas. Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs shut down the Baltimore Ravens to win the AFC Championship game. The Chiefs rode to a 17-10 win in Baltimore. Tight end Travis Kelce broke Jerry Rice's record for most postseason receptions in league history, and he recorded his record-tying 8th 100-yard playoff game. He and his girlfriend Taylor Swift have already been the center of attention this week as the Chiefs will play in their 4th Super Bowl in 5 seasons. If they win, they'll become the first team to capture back-to-back Super Bowls since the New England Patriots did it in 03 and 04. The 49ers, after an awful first half start in Santa Clara, rallied. What they say? They rallied in the NFC Championship game. The Niners, who had lost back-to-back conference championship games, are in the Super Bowl for the first time since the 49ers opened as a 2.5 favorite in the Super Bowl at BetMGM, though the line briefly shifted to minus 1.5 minutes after it was posted. It moved back to 2 points in the Niners' favor and has remained there. The underdog has covered the spread in the past 3 Super Bowls. Patrick Mahomes is getting a lot of legacy talk this week. If he leads the Chiefs to a win, he'll enter very rare territory as a 3-time Super Bowl champion quarterback. He's only 28. Could he really start to enter the GOAT conversation as he chases down Tom Brady's 7 rings? On the other hand, a victory for the 49ers would change the perception of 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan, writes Yahoo's Charles McDonald. Shanahan has been close to winning titles multiple times, but is most known for his Super Bowl shortcomings. Meanwhile, Niners QB Brock Purdy is still trying to shake the system quarterback label. As a football fan, obviously, I am looking forward to the game. Not looking forward to my pool numbers. I saw my squares and they look like shit. So I don't think I'm going to win much money on my squares, but I'm going to watch the game and enjoy myself. And again, once it's over, it's over. XFL, UFL, whatever the new league is that they putting together for the spring will have to hold me over a few months, and a couple of sitcoms and movies and series for these next 3-4 months until spring ball and the draft, training camp, and all that kick off. Because hey, that's like my soap opera. I love football. Like no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like the Super Bowl is bittersweet for me, as I know once the Super Bowl is done, my NFL watching is done for a while. Go Chiefs. I am pulling for Mahomes. I am pulling for the Kansas City Chiefs to beat the 49ers. I could never see myself pulling for the 49ers. I'm sorry. I grew up in a time where my Saints were constantly getting their ass whooped by Joe Montana, Steve Young, and the 49ers, and Jerry Rice, and Roger Craig, and Ronnie Lott, and shit. I can't be pulling. I can't see myself pulling for the 49ers. So definitely go Chiefs. I didn't even want them in the game, to tell you the truth. Just being real. Ex-MLB NFL standout Bo Jackson gets $25 million in blackmail stalking case. Former professional baseball and football player Vincent Bo Jackson, a running back who won the Heisman Trophy at Auburn, War Eagle, has won a $21 million verdict in his civil case against his niece and nephew for trying to extort him. Friday's decision included a permanent protective order barring Thomas Lee Anderson and his sister Erica M. Anderson Ross from further bothering or contacting Jackson and his immediate family members. The Andersons also must stay at least 500 yards from the Jacksons and remove from any social media any content about them, news outlets reported. The lawsuit, filed in April, alleged that Jackson's relatives tried to extort $20 million from him through harassment and intimidation. Unfortunately, for those attempting to extort $20 million from Jackson and his family, both still hits back hard. Jackson's attorney, Robert England, and David Conley said Monday in a news release about the case. Jackson, 61, claimed the harassment started in 22 and included threatening social media posts and messages, public allegations that put him in a false light, and public disclosure of private information intended to cause him severe emotional distress. WSB TV reported. He said Thomas Anderson wrote on Facebook that he would release photos, texts, and medical records of Jackson to show America that he wasn't playing around, the lawsuit alleged. Remember we talked about that greed thing a little earlier? Here we go again. Now we got a niece and a nephew trying to sue an uncle because the uncle rich and famous. And they're using all type of social media tactics and just trying to do all kind of shit. I'm glad this man won this lawsuit. I mean, this is Bo Jackson. Leave Bo alone. Bo knows how to just be Bo. Leave Bo alone. I think Bo bike across America and all this. Look, man, listen. It's hard sometimes, I would guess, and I can only imagine being a celebrity, being a great person, being wealthy when you got family members like this. You threatening to blackmail your uncle? That's just wild. And speaking of wild, great segue. I can't make this shit up. If you're new to the show, or this is your first time watching, I Can't Make This Shit Up is a segment that I like to find a story that is sounding very much fake, but is very much true. Hence, I can't make this shit up. And they usually be a little comical, I mean, as well. I popped the question with a tattoo. She had to pull down my pants to see it. Think marriage is a commitment? A UK barber recently proposed to his girlfriend with a giant "Marry Me" thigh tattoo, which required him to pop the question with his pants down. And I quote, "I had my trousers around my ankles when I proposed to her," Joe Murray, 33, told Kennedy News and Media of the potentially permanent proposal, which went down last month. The Derbyshire native had wanted to ask his girlfriend of 3 years, Sarah Graham, 36, for her hand in a more memorable fashion than your typical proposal, as the pair shared a love of tattoos. The father of 3 thought it would be fitting to pose the question in the body The father of 3 thought it would be fitting to pose the question in body art form. Murray said the stunt was inspired by videos he had seen online. He made his ballsy scheme a reality with the help of Aunt Payne Wright, the owner of Liberty Ink Tattoo in the same town, Derbyshire. They settled on a 10-inch tattoo, which depicts cartoon bobblegangers of the couple on Murray's upper left thigh in the words, "Marry Me," then with yes or no boxes underneath. And I quote, "It's not a tattoo that I do every day," said Payne Wright, who's been in the business for 8 years to execute the plan. Murray lured his bride-to-be to the tattoo parlor under the gist of having a consultation about an upcoming ink job. I can't make this shit up. That's wild, man. That's a way to propose, ain't it? I hope, I'm guessing she said yes, but I'm hoping she said yes with a permanent tattoo. That'll be some shit. And in closing, as always, I like to leave y'all with a little value and a little history. This day in history, might I add, is the name of our closing segment. In 1969, over a 1-ton meteorite fell in the city of Chinchilla, Mexico. Chihuahua, sorry, I said Chinchilla. Chihuahua, Mexico. In 1974, on this day, TV sitcom Good Times. Good times anytime you need a hand. Good times anytime you need a friend. Good times. The spinoff of Maude, starring Esther Rolle, John Adams, and J.J. Walker, Dynamite, premiered on CBS TV today, February 8th, 1974. And also in 1986, 5'7" Spud Webb of the Atlanta Hawks wins the NBA slam dunk competition. I'll never forget it. I was pretty much 8 or 9, and I thought Jordan would win. And here comes Spud Webb. Amazing. I wish I was a little bit taller. I wish I was a baller. That's the song that comes to mind when I think about watching some of his dunks, because he's 5'7" and won the NBA dunk competition. That's a feat. Thank y'all for joining me on this lovely evening of February 8th, 2024. That's My Take podcast. As always, I want to leave y'all with a little music.
The Bluetooth device is ready to pair.
I've also been told that
the Bluetooth device is connected successfully.
My sound and audio is not the best because obviously I'm using a Bluetooth speaker at present, but I have plans on getting an audio face, interface, which I can make my audio run through everything and all that, which also brings me to my banner right down there. Cashapp, PayPal is appreciated, never begged, but if you like to donate and help out with the research, it's much appreciated. All my information is down there at the banner. Again, I am Nug, the narrator. I do thank y'all for joining me on That's My Take. And again, I'd like to leave y'all with a little music. Here we go, without further ado. Yeah. Oh boy, who the fuck are you, boy? The narrator, I'm out. Once upon a crime, not too long ago, was a rude boy from the 6th Water and No. Hot off the porch, long way from bagging Nick. Got a blunt in a minute, I can tell you some shit. Was 16 needles in the street, my nigga. From night, we ain't have much to eat, my nigga. My mama did a best for 2 sons. Gone. How long shall I moan? Rude boy. Blow that cushion in your face. Good Lord, yeah. I give a fuck about a cake. Good aim. I give a fuck about a snake. Grabs low, I'm on my grind. Making it shake. Rude boy. Yeah. Yeah. Rude boy. Who the fuck are you, boy? Yeah. Rude boy, who the fuck are you, boy? I make this shit look easy, man. Rude boy, who the fuck are you, boy? Way of life. Rude boy, who the fuck are you? Rude boy, I just need me a ring, couple pints of that tuss, a couple pounds of that kiwi. Fly rude boy. You can't see me, watch a nigga all you want.
You can't beat me. Dreadlocks with it, cushion my ball back. No love for you other niggas, you might won't fall back. Rude boy, I can give a fuck where the love at. I know where the drugs at. I'm getting it all back. It's just a code that I live by. Hustle many ways, I told you, rude boy, too fly. Heart of a motherfucking line. Rainfall, really fuck nigga line.